definitely.
Great. Well, of course, you've already had a Group 1 winner, obviously not for Qatar Racing, but I can see why it'd be great to do one for your main employer. That's a great target to have. Now, talking about any particular horses that you've ridden during the last year or so that you're looking forward to riding again. And by the way, I'm not asking you to mention the 2 Solaria Racing horses that you've ridden.
Obviously, it's going to be nice to get back on Oxted. He's obviously provided me with 2 Group 1s. It'd be nice to get another one with him. With a nice feeling, I'm looking forward to sit on his mise en scene for James Ferguson, obviously Qatar Racing. She was a really good 2-year-old. I've sat on a few mornings, and she's grown into to be a nice filly. She's strengthened out in her shoulders. She's matured a lot, so I'm excited to get on back on her. A horse called Hayaraki. He was a really high-rated juvenile. He ran really well in the Breeders' Cup. Looked like he was going to win at one stage. He's obviously at Hugo Palmer's. Obviously, he's not the biggest, but he's grown. He's size in his shoulders. He's got a lot of speed. So I'm really looking forward to getting him on the racetrack.
Well, that's great. It's obviously going to be a really exciting year having this job with Qatar Racing and loads of exciting horses with a plethora of trainers to ride for. That's great. Finally, we always like to finish up with asking our guests what are the things they'd like to see change for the good of British racing in general.
Definitely prize money. I think we're behind there on prize money. Obviously, if you look at every other places like Hong Kong, Japan, Australia, America, we're just way behind on the prize money. I think we need to get on board with the prize money and start trying to compete with the other countries in the prize money.
Sure.
Another one, I think giving licenses to 16-year-olds, I think it's just a little bit too soon. I think maybe we should change it to be 18-year-olds and plus, because physically and mentally, I don't think we're kind of ready. That age is ready for the pressure that we're put on. Obviously, the media, you've got some nasty people out there who you can message you or contact you, and if you're 16 or 17, you've given a bad ride mentally. It's not a good thing to have if you're not ready for it, and just physically, you're just not matured enough. I don't think it's a tough enough game. You're competing with professional athletes who have been competing at the top for God knows how long, and you're only a kid. I think it's just a little bit too soon to get an apprentice license. So maybe just as a 16-year-old, you'll be able to get an amateur license, and then as soon as you're 18, you can switch to an apprentice license. I think that's
sure.
I think personally that's a way going forward in British racing that should be brought up.
Okay, that's lovely. Yeah, well, certainly they're two good things, aren't they? The prize money is one that's very popular with a lot of our guests, but I have to say you're the first person that's mentioned that about raising the age, and you're obviously a proof, aren't you, that you don't have to start off at 16, 17. You can go into it a bit later when, as you say, you're a bit more mature physically and mentally.
Yeah, most definitely. Look, it's obviously, you've got the pony racing to gear you up for, getting on the track, but just everything else you're just not ready for. I was starting off when I was 18 riding. It didn't do me any wrong. It only benefited me, I believe. And there's a lot more other riders out there. Ryan Moore, he started off as an amateur. My dad he got going when he was 18. So it just shows you don't have to be 16 to get onto the racetrack. You can just wait until you've matured and physically and mentally got prepared for what is going to become in the near future.
Well, look, I'm sure you're going to be in for a fantastic season. I'm going to ask another obvious question, I guess. Champion jockey in the future? I guess you'd like to be one if possible?
Yeah, look, obviously it's a goal that any young jockey is going to want to set out to try and achieve. It's very difficult with the riders around. It is a goal that I'd like to achieve. But I think for me, more than anything, is just try and rack up the Group 1s. I don't think now being champion jockey is as great as it used to be. You can still be an unbelievable, fantastic jockey without being champion jockey. The Group 1s are what everyone wants to win nowadays. But no, most definitely, I'd love to be champion jockey one day.
Well, listen, Phil, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining Inside the Rails. That's a great insight into the life of a young and upcoming jockey, and wish you all the best of success this season. Really do.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. Take care.
Well, Phil, Kieran's ridden for me a few times, 2 or 3 times. He's always come across really, really well. And I thought he'd be a good guest, and he hasn't disappointed, has he? I'll tell you the thing I'm taking out of this interview we've just done is the number of trainers he rides out for. Astonishing.
Yeah, I must admit, I thought he was going to give us a list of 1 or 2, and he kept on going, didn't he? It was great to get some insight from Cieren. I think he's going to have a good season this year, and it was interesting having had Tom Scudamore as a guest in the past to get a feel for the similarities and the differences between flat and jump jockey routines. I hope everybody that's listening enjoyed this episode. We will be lining up another great guest next month. I won't announce it just yet in case anything goes wrong, but we have got somebody in mind who should be quite good and enjoyable to listen to, same as our previous guests have been. In the meantime, if you're listening and you don't already do so, please follow us on Twitter. Our handle there is @InsideTheRails. And of course, if you've got any questions about the podcast or about syndicate ownership, you can message us through Twitter or you can email us at the addresses on the show notes. Best way you can support the podcast is by following us on your podcast platform. That way you get future episodes automatically. And if you could also tell your friends about us, that would be great as well. We really appreciate all the support that we get. And we're grateful to everybody that helps us to grow the podcast by giving us some positive reviews and mentioning us on social media and talking to their friends about us.
Well, that just leaves me to thank co-host Phil Boyle from BG Racing, our special guest jockey Cieren Fallon, producer Callum Ronan from Callum Ronan Creative, and you, the listeners. We've had a fantastic Cheltenham Festival in front of packed crowds. The Grand National is just around the corner, and with the days getting longer all the time, we can look forward to some fantastic summer flat racing, with, I'm sure, plenty of syndicate winners. This is Simon Double from Solaria Racing saying goodbye.